one player in this puzzle is General Sibiya. So I want to invite the Commission to understand perhaps the background of General Sibiya, his arrival in the police, and his responsibility as a person appointed as a Deputy National Commissioner in the police. What I know of is that General Sibiya was appointed as a Lieutenant General, promoted to Lieutenant General in the police in July 2022. And I said earlier, the post of a Deputy National Commissioner Crime Detection, it's a heartbeat of the South African Police Service. That is where, according to the structure of the police, the organogram, that is where crime intelligence accounts, that is where investigations account, and that is where forensic accounts. So General Sibiya was afforded that opportunity in July 2022 to be appointed as a Deputy National Commissioner occupying this position. But before that, if commissioners allow me to backtrack, prior to his arrival in the South African Police Service, General Sibiya was appointed in the South African Police Service in 2022 after he had won a court case. He was originally an employee of the service and was working within DPCI before that, and he was dismissed from the service, and he appealed his dismissal. A dismissal, I'm told, that the employer, which is South African Police that dismissed him, did not oppose in court. Subsequent to that, the court ruled in his favor that he must be reinstated into the service. But when that happened, at the time, General Sibiya was employed at the City of Johannesburg Metro Municipality. Well, I'm not going to dwell much on what was his function at Johannesburg Metro, but it's just interesting I'm going to be making comparison of what I became aware of on the record, which is a public knowledge of things that involves him at the City of Johannesburg, and I contrast that to what is happening in the South African Police Service. So when he was appointed, before he was appointed, the City of Johannesburg, upon learning that General Sibiya is going to be starting his work in the South African Police Service, the City of Joburg felt that it is important to bring to the attention to the Minister of Police about the pending investigation against General Sibiya at the City of Johannesburg. I want to invite the commissioners to look at MK23. It's on page 477 on my, start from 477 and it ends at 478 on the annexures. So these which are attached here is what I'm referring to, commissioners, that the City of Johannesburg wrote to the Minister of Police, and they delivered the letter by hand, which the Minister of Police acknowledged it on the 20th of June 2022. And the Minister of Police at the time was Gerald Bekicele. This letter, I'm going to read the heading. It reads as follows: urgent request for the Minister of Police to intervene on the failure to disclose evidence of fraud and corruption which involves 3.5 million rand of unlawful benefit and 580 million rand irregular expenditure to the City of Johannesburg Municipality Council and the South African Police Service. Commissioners, this letter is addressed, as I said, to the Minister of Police. It comes from the executive head at the office of the City Manager of Johannesburg, in Braamfontein, and this letter was copied to the Speaker of the Council. And this letter is dated the 20th of June 2022, and it was signed by Mesuli Mlandu, the Executive Director at the City Manager's Office. The paragraph 2 of this letter, if I read it as written here, I request an intervention of the Minister on the concealment from the Council and the hoax of evidence of fraud and corruption which involves the employment of Mr. S. Sibiya, the head of Department for Group Forensic and Investigation Services, HOD of GFIS in bracket, in receiving 3.5 million rand of unlawful gratification and causing 580 million of irregular expenditure. The letter is written, as I said, this is just part of the content of the letter addressed to the Minister of Police. So it's already warning about some irregularities within the city of Johannesburg that involves Mr. S. Sibiya. And they are saying here that as the city, they are writing this thing, bringing to the Minister of Police as contained on paragraph 6, if I may read it.
Perhaps you might want to start at paragraph 3 before you move to 6.
Paragraph 3. The paragraph 3 reads, "It is urgent because I am advised that Mr. Sibiya may soon be taking up a senior position in the South African Police Service as from the 1st of July 2022, and thus escape being held accountable. I can also confirm that the then acting city manager, Mr. F. Brink, first reported this matter to the Gauteng MEC for local government, and the MEC did not intervene."
Then you can move to paragraph 6 you originally intended to read.
Yeah, paragraph 6 reads as follows: "Therefore, to assist Council with these legal obligations, I request the Minister to urgently intervene and cause the evidence in the attached report to be tabled before Council. Also considering that Mr. Sibiya is still a city employee until he takes up employment with SAPS from the 1st of July 2022, the Minister of COGTA will be notified of this matter." So this is a letter that is written by the city of Johannesburg, and it is addressed to the Minister of Police. The relevance of this is that the city felt that it is important for them to bring to the attention of the executive authority in the South African Police Service about the risk associated with the person that is coming to the organization. In June already, before he started his appointment in July. And they are flagging the 3.5 million rand ratification and the irregular expenditure that amounts to 580 million rand, of which was incurred. That seems to suggest that it happened under his leadership in the position that he was occupying as a forensic head in the city of Johannesburg. Commissioner, the reason why the city wrote this letter to the Minister of Police, I cannot explain. But what of an interest to me is that the city is already flagging a risk that is associated with the individual that is coming to us. That there is this what the city is having a problem with, gratification of 3.5 million and a regular expenditure of 580 million that the city suffered as a result of this individual that we want to take, or that is coming to the organization. In an ordinary working of, especially in a department like the police, that is charged with the responsibility of upholding and enforcing the law, that you are warned of a person that you are about to employ who's questionable And if proven these allegations, it will prove to be disastrous in the police. And at least with this warning, the management should have taken a decision of not placing this person in the heartbeat of the police. I mentioned earlier the position where he ended. But I must speed up, Commissioner, and say he arrived in the police as a Major General. When he left, he was dismissed from the service. And that was as a result of the disciplinary case surrounding the rendition of the Zimbabweans that were transported to Zimbabwe. So it was based on that. He was dismissed. There was an appeal on the dismissal. As I said earlier, the very same employer that dismissed him did not oppose that appeal. So as a result, the court ruled in his favor. So when he comes back, the organization takes him back because there's a court order now. But with this warning that comes, and I must then maybe retract back to say the employment in terms of what the Act is saying, the National Commissioner remains responsible for the employment. But there was an incident that happened back in the organization a couple of years back where there's a section in the Police Act that empowers the National Commissioner to promote a person without advertising a position. Can elevate you to another position. So it happened that Gerald Khan from Crime Intelligence was a colonel in the police, was promoted from a rank of a colonel to a Major General at Crime Intelligence by the acting commissioner at the time was Gerald Mutiba. And that upsetted the minister at the time, was Minister Mbalula, who was the head of the was executive authority in the police. And that triggered the ministry amending the regulations on the Police Act. And that amendment, it brought about the consultation with the ministry before you appoint. That's why I'm making a reference to it that in terms of regulation 39.4 of the police regulation, an appointment on this level of a Major General and higher must be made in consultation with the minister. So therefore, the letter with this warning addressed to the Minister of Police, then the minister had an obligation, because it's a caution this. So he had an obligation to share this with the National Commissioner. I do not know whether it happened or not. But what I know is that Gerald Sibiya was appointed into the police and not, remember, when he left, he was at DPCI. When he came back, he was given a post of the head of organized crime in the police, at the head office. That's where he started. This is July 2022. Commissioners, fast forward. General Sibiya then gets promoted by the same organization that fired him and that re-enlisted him when he made an appeal that did not oppose his appointment, that appoints him despite this warning from the city. Then the organization promotes him within a year. Commissioner, you might be right, but I'm not privy to the administration process. What I know is that the court made a ruling. I don't have the date of the court judgment, but subsequent to that, as the court ruled that he must make a submission and application, which then must be considered by the organization, and then he must come and start. So whether when this notice come, he had already signed a contract for the position or not, I do not know. However, it does not take away that as an organization that is responsibility is to enforce the law, even if you've signed a contract with an individual, the moment you become aware of the risk that is coming to the organization, you ought to pause and reflect and conduct your due diligence to make sure that there is no risk that is going to be brought by this individual into the organization. But it seems like that did not happen. So he commenced in the organization on the 1st of July. So I'm not going to talk much about what the minister did in relation to the letter, whether did the National Commission know about the risk that was flagged in the letter. I'm not in a position to answer that. But I know that there was this warning before he comes in. What becomes strange to me is that first he becomes a Major General of Detective Service. And a year later, he gets promoted. Now he's promoted to the heartbeat of the police, so he's no longer responsible for organized crime alone. He's now responsible for the entire investigation, including crime intelligence, including forensic. Well, the National Commission has got powers to appoint. It's just strange that the same organization dismissed this man. A year later, when he applies to court, the same organization doesn't appeal, doesn't file papers to oppose that court process. And the same organization brings him back and promotes him a year later. I don't know what he has done on his performance agreement that was so exceptional on this term when he comes back, despite this warning that justified this promotion to get into this position. But this is for me became the risk that the organization should have foreseen back then, and we find ourselves here with an individual who came into the organization with this questionable background. I must maybe speed up, Commissioner, and indicate that amongst of the things that, which I will read into record, the things that he's been accused of in the city of Johannesburg as he comes in, amongst others was some procurement or some intelligence devices, which I then find it strange because, well, before I read the terms of reference of the city of Johannesburg, because there's an inquiry currently that is ongoing in the city of Johannesburg. But before I elaborate on that much, I've already made a reference to the annex of the letter from city of Johannesburg. But I want to draw the attention to the commissioners also to look at the terms of reference on an inquiry that the city of Johannesburg, which is flowing from that indication of 2022, June 20.
That's MK 24. You referenced that at your paragraph 269.
I want to invite the commissioners to go into that annexure as it's reflected there on my statement. And I'm going to read on record. I'm not going to read the entire terms of reference from the city of Johannesburg on an inquiry about this matter. It reads, the terms of reference required the SIIC to inquire into, among others. The SIIC refers to the Special and Independent Investigation Committee. It's abbreviated as such. Number one, allegations of fraud in the establishment of the GFIS in the city of Johannesburg. Commissioner, I want to make sure that these abbreviations and acronyms are read on record. The GFIS stands for Group Forensic and Investigation Services. Group Forensic and Investigation Services.
And just for the record, the full name is provided at paragraph 263 of the statement. Thank you, General.
The allegation of fraud in establishment of this GFIS in the city of Johannesburg, and which General Sibiya was appointed the group head of. Number two, allegations of fraud, corruption, maladministration, and breach of law in the appointment of the head of GFIS. Number three, allegation of fraud, corruption, maladministration, and breaches of law regarding the implementation of rogue, clandestine, and unlawful investigations by GFIS, particularly the unlawful procurement and or deployment of snooping device called the digital forensic equipment, which is used to remotely access, intercept, and store electronic information from various gadgets without authorization.
Sorry, General. Are you reading from your statement or from the terms of reference?
I'm reading from my statement.
Oh, okay. We were in the terms of reference.
Oh, my bad.
Apologies. At paragraph 270, he extracts some of the terms of reference from annexure MK24. So he made a selection of 3. They're quite extensive. Commissioners,
as I said, the terms of reference are attached as an annex on my document that is before you. I'm not the author here, but this is coming from the City of Johannesburg. But what struck me on this one, Commissioner, as I said earlier, incidents of 2011, as I saw them repeating themselves now, and I started reflecting back then. When I was acting National Commission in 2011, I became aware of the procurement of similar type of devices. And they were procured by DPCI with a sole service provider. It cost over 3 million rand, and the person who signs off and approving on that was a National Commissioner back then, 2010, which was Gerald Cele. And the very same individual was at DPCI where those gadgets were bought. I don't know which company supplied then. I don't even know which company supplied a similar thing to the City of Johannesburg. My biggest concern about this, Commissioners, back then, I took a decision to direct that DPCI is not supposed to be in possession of such equipment. That equipment must be sent to crime intelligence, and it was done as such. So that's a concerning thing for me, that there is this digital forensic equipment. I know there's a relationship with some forensic investigators that are in South Africa with General Sibiya. They always go out publicly. I'm not saying that it's them that supply this, but this is called snooping equipment that can access information of people remotely. It is bought at DPCI back then, 2010. We moved it to crime intelligence. It is now bought in the City of Johannesburg. The same common denominator, same person is involved. We don't know whether he bought it from the same. I know the one, because I have records of the one of 2010. It was bought, delivered from the company in the United Kingdom. I don't know who facilitated that purchase. I don't know this one, whether was it bought from the same supplier or from the same country, and who facilitated that. What concerns me the most, Commissioners, is to trying to find out, perhaps the City of Johannesburg would be able to shed light in future on this, to try and, I'm trying to establish as to where is this equipment today. The General Sibiya left the City of Johannesburg. There's an inquiry now that is officially launched by the City of Johannesburg, which I will invite the public perhaps to follow. But what is key for me is to find out, where is this equipment? Could it be that this equipment is still with the City of Johannesburg, or could it be still in a position of the person that acquired this? I don't know. I'm not going to conclude. But what is very interesting for me is to see that there seems to be that warning of the City of Johannesburg of 2022 is confirmed now with these terms of reference that they did warn the organization, hence this inquiry in the City of Johannesburg. That's when I'm beginning to connect the dots, Commissioners. So I'm not, as I said, I'm not suggesting that whatever that happened in the City of Johannesburg, the allegations leveled against General Sibiya are true or not. I guess the inquiry will establish that. But I'm interested to know if there was such an equipment. I'm interested to know where is the equipment now.
You conclude this at paragraph 275, and you have made a request that a slide be projected, which you intend to speak to. So if you could just draw your conclusion, and then the slide will be projected, and then you can address yourself to the slide. Thank you, General.
Yeah, Commissioners, my biggest concern in all this is that the heartbeat of the SAPS, that position is occupied by the person who was dismissed from the service, who comes back a year later after coming back, is then promoted to that position. It is the same environment that when the issues of the disbandment of this political killings task team, the head of that environment has got letters written that interfered with the work of the political task team without engaging me. It's a position in the organization is very senior and very critical. So a person occupying that position must be beyond reproach. It is a person who his ethical standard must be above them, all of us. I'm not saying that General Sibiya does not have that. I'm not saying that he did not have that. But as we are investigating and we are pitting up the picture, the picture that emerges, which I'm not going to talk about it, but it takes me to going back to question whether did the minister and the national commissioner do the right thing at the beginning by appointing Gerald in that position. So I want to draw you into this analysis and the picture that I'm beginning to see, which is on 275. As we are doing our things as the police, please put a slideshow so we can blow it up.
Can you just give us the date of the promotion before you go to the slideshow? You keep saying a year later he was promoted to the current position.
Commissioners, I don't have the exact date of the promotion, but a promotion happened a year later.
Was Minister Cele still minister?
At that time, I'm speaking under correction, I don't want to lie. I did not confirm exactly. That's why I don't know the promotion date. I don't even know when that process started for his promotion, similar to what the commissioner was asking me earlier. When the City of Johannesburg writes a letter on the 20th of June 2022, and Gerald Sibiya was going to start on the 1st of July, whether had he signed the employment contract already with the organization by then, I don't know. Similar to this one, when he was promoted to the position of the Deputy National Commissioner, I know it happened a year later, but whether at that time was the Minister Cele in the office or not, and whether did Minister Cele play the part to his promotion, I do not know. I guess the National Commission will explain that. But what I want to flag here before the Commissioner is that his arrival in the organization was a concern. That should have been a concern for everyone. But it looks like the organization somehow did not take that serious, hence they placed him in that position. So what I'm showing on the screen as I asked, Commissioner, you might be confused with too many blocks and everything in that slide, but it is what, as we are investigating, that we're beginning to see that, and I want to concentrate myself on this slide on General Cele, the National Commissioner, and General Sibiya. You will see at the bottom of General Sibiya the lines that are connected to him, that crime intelligence, detective service, and forensic service, they report directly to him. And we know that there is this connect of everything. Gerald Cele leaves, but what is also part of the investigation that we're picking up is that when the contract of 360 million rand was awarded to Mr. Madlanga and the police, Gerald Cele was the Minister of Police. I'm not saying that he had a role to play on that one, but I'm just saying it's something interesting to look at, because we see communication that the team will come and reflect on between the very same Mr. Madlanga and General Cele, the communication as we have listed there, which dates back to December last year, 2024, how they've been communicating. So it's not only about the arrest of Madlanga, there is communication prior to that, and further evidence that we picked up, exchange of monies and the likes. I guess Jaro Kumar will elaborate more on that when they come in with the investigation team. I don't want to get into it, but it's just interesting to know that Madlanga and Cele have got a relationship and there's money exchanges between. And this is a man that was appointed in the police to be a health risk manager of the service. And the connection that we have put it here linked to Gerald Sibiya in all directions, top, left, right, bottom, in all angles. And this becomes a worry because, as I said, this is a heartbeat of the organization. And when we are having the red flags on the left, which is the syndicate, 2 of them already in custody, we have others that we haven't mentioned. And we are having the ghost on the right, black and white, which include so-called experts out there that are spreading wrong information, so-called media journalists that are in there, many parties that you see there on the black, and going up top right corner, you see the entities of government, which will include IPID, IDEC, IGI, that are party to this chaos that we are seeing, and the engagement they're having with the Minister of Police, Mr. Senzo Mkhunu now, Bran Mkhwanazi in the Chief of Staff. So this picture is what comes to the fore, and it gets us worried that, and we begin to question, how did this man come into this organization? Could it be this? We ignore the warning from the City of Johannesburg, and we end up here today. So I'm going to leave it here, Commissioners.